But I have the other ones available in there.
Wait.
But
What? So, Luke, what are you drinking today? Coca-Cola.
Morning on the way to the gym and set my ukulele on top of the car and then drove off down the road.
I need a bow after that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Hojo! I learned my lesson from last night. What a welcome, thank you. I drink the most fruity drinks imaginable.
It's laundry day.
it's laundry day.
So you always wear hats with laundry day.
I'm going to give you a favor, gents. I just say no ukulele.
So how did you two meet?
Well, there's these places in San Francisco. I think they're called bathhouses.
It's like one of those things where everyone wants to focus on like the big events that happen, but day to day, what we're doing is we're on like one of our drawstrings, smoking weed, making comics. It's chill. It's so much fun, and like
Yes. Man, I'm not a YouTuber. I do this because I want to sell comic books. Woo! Yes! Yes, there we are, guys. There we are.
yes.
It is Sunday, guys. This means another episode of A Drink with Brink, where I talk with other indie creators about their hopes and their dreams and their lives, but also their books and their campaigns. Because frankly, I'm kind of done with mainstream. Mainstream sucks. It's kind of boring. And indie is where the passion is. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. Great Sunday. And we are welcoming our guest for today, Mr. Mitch Larkins. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
How are you today?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm
Pretty good.
I'm fine.
And happy Mother's Day for all the mummies out there.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, excellent. Mother's Day. That's important. You know, I haven't done much with Mother's Day besides working. I've been working on my own next comics. There's always stuff to do. What have you been doing?
Oh yeah.
Mitch, what have you been doing?
So what have I been doing today? Today I've been working on Minecraft Legos with my kiddos. But if we're talking about our own creativity stuff, dude, I've been working on a lot of stuff. I'm working on an upcoming podcast that hasn't been released yet. We're working on it. Working on a comic book about being middle-aged. You see my poster on this side.
Yeah.
Right there, Grave Vengeance. That has been out for a couple of years now, but the sequel is with the editor now, and we're also working on the audiobook version right now too, with a very talented narrator.
Oh, that is cool. That is cool. We have some people in the chat. We have Mike. Welcome, Mike. Fan of JDN, Genuine and Dark Sides Comics. He says, cheers to you, your guest, and your audience to drink number 175. Yeah, that's crazy, guys. Hope yours is going great and that you're feeling better now. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we can continue to stream.
Were you a little under the weather?
Yeah, I was a little bit sick. So sometimes I only do the streams once per week, right? So I want to feel well during this time.
Yeah.
Gorilla Mar, welcome, sir. Welcome, Gorilla Mar. Gorilla Mar has a YouTube channel where he does like comic book reviews. So if you like comic books, especially indie comics, go subscribe to his channel, guys.
And I think he's going to be fighting 100 guys later, right?
what did you say?
Oh, so there's been a meme going around about a gorilla versus 100 men,
Oh, right.
and with him being Gorilla Mar.
Yeah, Gorilla Mar. Yeah, maybe. Welcome, Crenshaw. Welcome, sir. Nice to see you. And we have the ASAP Network. Hey, all. I think that's connected to you, Mitch.
Yes, that is the publisher and the big brain behind the website and all the other stuff that's
Right.
going on. They have a ton of great small press indie comics and other books besides mine. Obviously, go buy mine first. In fact, buy 5 copies of mine. But while you're at it, go buy the rest of their stuff. They also have a short film for some of their superheroes that they're working on kickstarting right now,
Short
which
film.
I've also kind of helped with just a little bit. Yes, sir.
Wow, that's the endeavor. I think many people dream about making a film, but it's a lot of work, a lot of
Mhm.
investment, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
it's a massive investment. You got time, the organ. I don't know. I just don't know why everyone wants to fight me. I don't know. Man. It's just maybe they're jealous of your hair. You know, maybe not
yeah,
necessarily the hair on your head, but maybe your back hair or something.
yeah, maybe that's it, man. Right. So let's get to know you a little bit, Mitch, because we've never met before this stream. Basically, so what is your history with? Well, for instance, what do you make? You make comics, you make novels. I took a look at your site and I saw something
Mhm.
about novels, but also about comics. Is that correct?
Right. So, so yeah, I've written 4 or 5 novels
Oh wow!
in my lifetime. This I can't remember which side it's on. Grave Vengeance is my first horror novel, but I have also written in regular fantasy and sci-fi fantasy with lit RPG elements, like if you've played D&D or Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I used elements from that
Right.
and made a series called Wild Worlds.
Wild Worlds.
Furthermore, I've also yes, sir. Go ahead. Wild Worlds, yes, sir. So I'm getting it re-edited right now, so it should be getting republished soon. I've got 3 books in that series,
Wow, that's cool.
and it's about just going through space and having adventures. You get different classes, like you can become a mage, a brawler, a gadgeteer, a summoner, um, all kinds of different classes, and you're following these characters around as they go on adventures, fighting other enemies, different random monsters. We've got exploding bunnies in
What's
it.
that
We've got
series called?
space pirates. Uh,
What's that book
that
called?
series is called Wild Worlds. It's
Oh, that's the title. Okay.
Wild Worlds.
Mhm.
Yep, that is the title. So the book series is Wild Worlds, and then it breaks down. I'm sorry if I misunderstood. So the first one's Crash Course, the second one is Going Rogue, and the third one is Looking for Group. All 3 of those are getting re-edited right now. Then we're
Wow.
going to release them again on ASAP, and then I'll continue the series from there. But I took a break to write Grave Vengeance. I'm also working on a comic book, and it may become more than one comic book about becoming middle aged and dealing with bad backs, losing your hair, gray beard, all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Right.
so it's
What
just going
you
to
know,
be
they say, right?
definitely write what you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I know about gray hair all too much these days.
Uh,
Um,
Hey, but this
so
is
what else am
fantastic,
I
man.
working?
So you wrote a so the moment you wrote your first book, because getting one book done,
Mhm.
that's quite a feat, right? So how did that process go? So first off, the decision to make a book, then construct the concept, or you first had the concept, then make the book. How did that go?
So the first book I wrote was back in my 20s, early 20s, I was like 19, 18, 20, something like that. And I started just writing a book, just just something to do. And then what happened is my grandfather was like, "Oh, you'll never get that published," and so now it became a challenge, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I ended up getting it published. Never really did anything with that. But to answer your actual question about the concepts and stuff, a lot of times what I'll do to begin with is it can follow several different steps. I could say, hey, I want to write in this genre. Like I want to write a lit RPG. Okay, well, what do I want to? What kind of characters do I want for that? Okay, well, I want like an Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker scenario, but I want the mentor to kind of despise the student, but they have to train them to do things the right way, but they're going to do it the most brutal way possible. It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to show you how to become defensive in your fighting by just punching you a lot.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm just reading that comment. Real fighting 100 men sounds like the raid. You know what? They should make that. Maybe that happened in one of the Mario sequels.
I feel bad for the
And
monkey.
so that's kind of how I do. Oh yeah, true. Men can be very angry, especially if we're drinking, right? I'm drinking
Oh yeah,
fire right
drinking,
now,
sure, yeah.
apparently.
What you drinking, by the way? What is it? Coffee?
Coffee. Just coffee. Just decided to make a second cup today. Um, but yeah, so that's how my thought process kind of goes. And then like for something like Wild Worlds, I was like, well, what kind of leveling up systems do I like? I know it's not really well liked, but I really enjoyed Final Fantasy II's. The more you performed in action, the better you got at like attacking, or the more you got hit, the higher your defenses and your HP would go. Oblivion has, which just came out as a remaster or whatever,
Yeah.
had a very similar system with jumping or running or whatever, and I really enjoy that system. So I incorporated that into Wild Worlds. For something like Grey Vengeance, my thought process for that was I want to write like a horror novel, but and it originally started off as a short story, but I wanted a scenario where like you get to switch between the perspectives, and while you see the humans or terrified out of their minds, you just switch to the monster, and they're just treating it like a big party. They're having an absolute blast. Kind of inspired. So my main character or villain or whatever you want to say, Alice up there, the one with the fire in her eyes. Um, she was really inspired by like Freddy Krueger, Beetlejuice, specifically a lot of the animated series Beetlejuice.
Right.
Villains like that who just like are just have an absolute blast being a villain, having a lot of fun in the process.
Sure. So you draw a lot of inspiration from various sources. So like video games,
Mhm.
you play games and then you're like, how can I implement this in a story, right? Your own story. So
Mhm.
so you knew your first story. This is fantasy, right? So you knew it would be a fantasy
Mhm.
story that was your main. Like for your first book, you have to make a decision, right? So fantasy was your main
Mhm.
draw.
Yeah, so for that one, I just fantasy is always going to be a part of me, no matter what I
Hmm.
write. I'm not really going to deviate. So there's going to be magic in something. There's magic in everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I really am attracted to like the fantasy series, the different levels you can have. You can have your soft magic, and I mean you can do it with sci-fi too because they're uh, pretty similar in a lot of ways. So you can have your soft rules, your hard rules, where like you have to follow an exact formula, get the spell cast, or
Yes.
or again like the Beetlejuice stuff is like as long as he can get a pun out, he's going to get what he wants. You know.
Yeah. Right. Welcome, Darksiders Comics. Welcome, sir. Darkside loves like fancy, also fancy. He's making his own fancy comic book series. It's now on
Nice.
Indiegogo, so people can check that out. Um, I think you have a ranch, Darkside, so please put your link to your campaign in the chat. And also, guys, go subscribe to Darkside is Comics YouTube channel for daily comic book reviews. So, yeah. So, but if you make a fantasy story, so what you read, so you have the characters, but and what you read, what you present as a writer is like only a small part of this entire world that you need to create before you
Hmm.
can even start writing. Correct? So you have to you did a lot of
Correct.
world building before this.
Yes. So for Great Vengeance is set in the real world. So fortunately, history did most of the work for me. Um,
Right.
for something like Wild Worlds, I had to go through and I made so like each planet has to have its own history, its own little culture, its own background. Um, we have to like I had to build out like holidays. I had to build out time zone type situations, things that you'll never see. I built out a writing system. I built out certain tax codes. I built out sports. Again, these are things that may never come up, but like
Oh yeah.
each part of these helps influence how these characters, who they were. They don't like
Yes.
the trick is, especially when you're writing anything really, is like you have to remember that their lives don't necessarily start at page one.
Hmm.
If you have a 30-year-old main character, they've got 30 years of life experience that you have to incorporate in there and
Hmm.
how they got to where they are as a person now. This is just a story arc within their life, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so it's
Right.
it's very important to when you world build and build your characters. It's like you have to make them people. Again, I say that, but like you can have one-dimensional characters. Like that's the great thing about writing is it's art. You put as much or as little as you want in there or that you feel like the story needs. Do you have to sit there and the first chapter explain everything about their life, their favorite type of cheese and stuff? No, you don't have to do that. But
No.
you might have a situation later on where like they make it sound so like, oh, you've only got Parmesan in your house. I hate Parmesan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. One-off
Exactly.
lines like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But you need to know these characters, right? So are these
Mhm.
stories that you write is each book, is that one story, or is every book part of a larger arc?
So So with Wild Worlds, I always intend that to be an ongoing series. I have rough ideas for about 20 books in that one, if I
20
ever get around
books?
to writing them.
Holy
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Uh,
I
all
don't know.
right.
Again, I don't know if I'll ever get there.
Sure.
I've got another series I'm working on, which is inspired by like Pokemon and Digimon, that I'm hoping that will last for about 10 books.
Hmm.
For Great Vengeance, though, Great Vengeance was started off as a short story. I wrote a simple little short story because I was like, oh, let me see if I can do this little plot I want to do. I gave it to some friends who were also writers. They're like, "Hey, you need to build this bigger, make more. We want more of this." I
All
wrote it
right.
longer. Then they're like, "Hey, we want more Alice. We want more Alice." So I added more Alice scenes in there. Next thing I know, I've
Mhm.
got 50,000 words. I'm like, "Well, I've got a novel here. Might as well try to get it published." So for
Right.
this
Sure. Yeah.
book
Yeah.
started off as one off, and then ASAP published it for me because they're awesome. Um, a few people have liked it and they've asked for a sequel because of the way the book ends. So that's why we're going to have a Grave Vengeance 2 and 3, and there might be a few more out there. I'll write
All
them as
right.
long as people enjoy them. But yeah,
All right.
this one was never intended. I'll be upfront about that. It was never intended for sequels. However, I did leave the door open if people wanted to walk through, and a few people are definitely want to walk through and see where the rest of the story can go.
Sure. Right. Darkside dropped some links in the chat, so go check that out, guys. And he says, Dave, I'm gonna create a Dutch hero myself. I'm gonna challenge the Flying Dutchman. How about that? Okay, so cool. But how are you gonna do that? How are you gonna do that, man? Are you going to make a
Just gonna
comic
use a
book
life
and
preserver. That's
then
right.
ask me permission to use it? What's going on? What's the situation there? And Mike says, make her a woman. All right, they're already planning things. A hot Dutch beauty pageant winner who can give a certain flying blonde man a beatdown fight. Okay, all right. Well, you got
Definitely
me
won't say
curious.
no to more hot ladies in the comics.
Nope, you got me curious. Cheese preference is sorely lacking in the arts.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make an entire story arc about them arguing about cheeses in one of my
Right.
books.
But do they have like different animals that you don't? Maybe they don't have cows. They have some other animal they make cheese from. So these have different names, different regions that they come from, right? So everything is when you go
Hmm.
like to fantasy. Sometimes people can't really connect with what you're saying, right? So how do
Hmm.
you find this balance?
Yeah, so that's one of the tricky things is like, you don't want to get so deep in like sci-fi analogies. Like, it's okay to say like a hot knife through butter. Okay, you don't have to say like a vorpal sword through a catachan,
Yeah.
crawling lizard or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can use the everyday idioms we know.
Hmm.
If you decide, hey, I need a cow-like creature, but I don't want to call it a cow, you know, you could just name it something, but just describe a cow.
Hmm.
Um, don't don't. There's sometimes you gotta know when to get lost in the weeds, and sometimes where it's like, man, let me just get a duck in here.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
throw in a duck, and we'll call it a day.
Right.
Just add a couple of do the Avatar thing where they just threw on an extra pair of legs and they call it a whole new animal.
Sure. So this
The
is
movie, not the last Airbender.
so this is a question that I always like, right? So
Mhm.
how did you know, or yeah, you decided to write, to make your own book. So how did you know that you actually could write, that what you made was actually good?
So that's the fun thing about being a writer. You always think your stuff is awesome. You never know if it's going to be good. You're sitting there typing out a sentence. You're like, oh my God, I've just wasted 6 hours of my life doing this. Nobody's ever going to like it. Everybody's going to hate it. What am I doing? So
Hmm.
how do I know it's going to be good? One, you don't.
Okay.
Two, you're going to have people that don't like it. No matter if you have like Stephen King come down and say this is the greatest horror novel of all time, or Alfred Hitchcock comes out of the grave and is like, "This is the greatest horror story of all time." Somebody somewhere is not going to like your stuff, and that's
Hmm.
okay. Um, so no, each time I write a book, I don't know if anybody's going to like it. I don't know if they're going to identify with the characters I didn't identify with, and that's okay. We're all our own people. We all
Hmm.
have our own different opinions. Some people are going to like the villain. Some people are going to hate the villain. Some people are going to love to hate the villain. Some people are going to hate the villain. It doesn't matter. You know, um, how do I figure these things out? I don't. I just put a story together. I toss it out there. You know. Again, I published a few times through ASAP. We started with a
Yeah.
short story, um, and then we went to Great Vengeance, and they have every right in the world to say, "Hey, this isn't it for us." I've been rejected several times. It's just like the dating life. You're going to go up to a girl or a guy, whoever, and you're going to say, "Hey, I think you're attractive. You want to go grab a coffee?" And they're either going to say yes or they're going to say no. But
Hmm.
that shouldn't affect you trying again. Like, there's
Sure.
plenty of people that have been rejected hundreds of times,
Hmm.
and
Right.
they you just keep trying, keep refining your art, and throw it on what is that, Royal Roads or the free sites. Throw a few chapters up there, see if people like it.
Mm. Right.
You'll
So
never know.
you did
You'll
that.
never know.
Yeah. Yeah. You get like many people get discouraged, right, when they don't find a publisher, or they get
Mhm,
negative like feedback from readers. But you have to keep going. You have to like trust
mhm.
your own capacity to make it happen, to make it work, right? um Plus you found a publisher. So how did that go? You just sent it out to them? Did you meet somewhere? How did that process go?
So on Twitter, back in the days when it was called Twitter, not
Yeah.
X, even though everybody still calls it Twitter, there was this lovely individual, L.A. Cunningham, and she was going through and making friends with writers, and I happened to be on there, and so I made friends with her. Then I found out, hey, she's working with this company called ASAP to make a anthology book for a charity. I was sitting on a short story that I had just written out of for funsies. And I was like, I'll just toss this to them, see if they like it. We'll see what happens with it.
Hmm.
They really enjoyed it. They put it in there. In fact, they were crazy enough to put it as the first story in that anthology. Um, and during that whole editing process, we just really kicked it off from a professional level. And then I was like, hey, I've got another book. If you guys wouldn't mind checking it out, and send it to them. I've made a lot of it's social media is really hard to
Mm.
make friends, to like build a network. But I've met a lot of really good people through it. People that um, are willing to help you, giving you some advice, guidance, whatever. But ASAP has been really good. They don't mind ideas being sent to them. They don't mind you giving them ideas. Hey, I think this. In fact, like this shirt you see right here, I keep my best ideas in my beard. The publisher came up with this. They're like, hey, we want to make some material, so some shirts and stuff. I was like, oh, of my characters, right? Which character you want to use? And they're like, you. Well, what do
Yeah.
you mean? Well, you're a cartoon character, so let's do it. I said, whatever. Heck yeah, let's do this. So yeah, again, they like all the time coming up with ideas on how to promote,
Yeah.
how to get your stuff published, how to get your characters out there. They're very hard workers there, and it's an absolute blast working with them. And that's what you need to find out there. It's not always about selling a million books. It's about finding people who are passionate.
Sure.
The mainstream, the traditional publishers, when you give them their book and you sign that contract, they can do whatever they want to it at that point. They'll go and edit it without
Mhm.
your awareness. Unless you're a big name already,
Mhm.
you're not going to have much say. You're not going to have say on the cover and things like that. So that's what I really enjoy about small press in general. You have a small, passionate group that are able to work with you on various different levels, like giving you recommendations, helping you uh, advertise your stuff, advertising it themselves. And they've actually sat down and read it. They can say, obviously they don't know it like the writer does, but they're like, man, listen, Great Vengeance or Wild Worlds or whatever. This book is so much fun to read.
Yeah.
And that's what I really enjoy about small press a lot is trying to you find these guys, these girls, whatever, and you just work hard together. And you have fun.
Yeah.
It's less a job, but it's an absolute blast to be able to talk to these people and everything like that.
Yeah. It's good. It's good when you find a publisher where you remain in control. I've been with a
Hmm.
publisher once, and I didn't really like it. It was I felt like I had no control of my own books, right? So
Hmm.
once you find a collaboration, it's more like a collaboration, right? Once you find
Hmm.
someone, a publisher who gets you and wants you to have your own
Hmm.
vision, be your own brand, right?
Hmm.
That's great. So people who are supportive. Um, Mike says, remember the Inspector Gadget episode where he went to Holland? A giant cheese wheel was but one native born treat. Right. Right. All right. And Tank Ferret is in the chat. Welcome, Tank. Hello. Welcome, sir.
Hey.
Sugar Chris is also here. Welcome, Sugar. Welcome. We're talking today with Mitch Larkins about his fantasy series.
That's me.
Yes. So if you like fantasy, this might be interesting to you guys. Like and share. Yes, please like and share, guys. Thank you so much for reminding us, Tank. The ASAP network says, and now Mitch is a big part of the team from his books to helping us with reviews, and he even storyboarded our film. Whoa, look at you go, man. That's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I said, they're really great to work with, and you know, again, they have all these brilliant ideas on how to publish and promote and all this stuff. But dude, when they again, like you have to present your own stuff. Like you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. And
Yeah.
again, with small press is far more willing to listen to you and make accommodations, and than traditional press will be. You have to go through their hoops and everything. But small press are super flexible on everything. Um, and yeah, and so our working relationship has gotten really, really close. Where, I chat with them all the time, and again, I'm always out there like, "Hey, how can I help? How can I help? Here's some ideas. Here's some ideas." And then I'm getting messages all day. Hey, here's an idea. Here's an idea. What do you think? Like, let's run with it, baby. Let's do
Oh,
it.
great. And working on a movie also. That's like a dream come true, man. Darius Artist
Oh
is
yeah,
with us.
definitely. And again,
Welcome, Darius Artist. Welcome, sir. Fantastic artist. If anyone needs a cover made, reach out to Darius Artist. He has a fantastic, really cool style. And he missed the opening. Well, you can rewatch it after the stream is done, sir. So welcome. Um, yeah, so working on storyboarding a movie. So what's the is that very different? Do you have to learn something specific, or do you like work from your experience as a writer?
So I actually went to a college for one semester, an art school college, and I did storyboarding. Not my homework; it was somebody else's homework. But she batted her pretty little eyes at me, so I was like, "Sure, I'll do
Oh
your
yeah,
homework for you."
that
So
works.
that's the only that was my previous experience doing. Yes, it always worked on me before I got happily married, and now it just works differently. But so with storyboarding, there's a bunch of different ways to tackle it. It is actually more like um, writing a comic, I think, where you get a script and they're like, okay, the character is perched here. Um, yeah, and then they need to jump down. Okay, well, you need to have a panel, one page or a panel or whatever of them perching. It also depends on how they're perching. You got to show off their personality. You don't get dialogue with this. You have to do everything with their physical movements. So just
Right.
imagine if you took like a comic page, you removed all the dialogue, and then you separated the panels out. That's what your storyboarding is more or less like. Again, there's different ways of seeing it. There's different levels of storyboarding. There's different levels of animatics. You'll see some animatics are glorified still frames. You'll see some animatics that are basically everything but the color. Um, but there's different levels. So I did some very simplistic storyboarding with them. Just to help get the ideas fleshed out. But writing something down, showing it, even if you're not that much of an artist, and I draw really cartoony. I don't draw like serious stuff or anything. It gets you to a new level of visualization because now people can interpret different dialogue boxes or the descriptions differently. But once you get the picture out there, again,
Mhm.
pictures worth 1,000 words. It shows you
Yeah.
so much more. And I know you've got several artists in here that I bet you whenever they get a commission, somebody's like, "Hey, I want to again like my book cover. I want a chick holding another chick by the throat." Well,
Sure.
that's the
Yeah.
only line you get. Okay, well, can you give me more information? Well, not really. Just kind of leave it up for interpretation. Then next thing they know, they're doing 15 edits on it. But I bet you when they get somebody, even if it's a simple stick figure, they're able to flesh that out instantly, and
Mhm.
they're done with that commission in a few hours maybe.
Yeah.
So art is very important on all levels, even just writing, even movie making, things like that.
Sure. Welcome, Sugar Squid Creations. He says it works differently. Yeah. Welcome. Is this related to Sugar Chris? Sugar Squid Creations. Well, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we have two sugars in the house. Two sugars. Um, Right. So the Mitch Larkins collection. So this is a website. The link to this website, guys, is pinned in the chat if you want to check it out. And this is also your like web store. So people can purchase your stories here, right?
So correct. So this is the ASAP Imagination website.
Mm.
This is specifically my little section. So there's different versions of Grey Vengeance. If you want it digital, there's some EPUB versions. There's digital. There's paperback. Also, it's available on Amazon for Kindle. If you prefer doing that approach, making it simplistic to upload to your reading device. Um, and you can scroll down, and then we've got little stickers. We've got these shirts for sale. There's more things. There's the Glorious shirt. There's and we're going to have more stuff coming soon,
Yeah.
soonish. Again, we'll be putting the comic up there. Um, again, the
Wait,
the audio version will be coming out, so there'll be links to there.
but this is this a
Yes,
novel?
sir.
Is this a comic? It's a novel,
So this is a novel.
right?
Yep, it's a full blown novel. I am working on additional comics aside from just novels. I've
Sure.
always wanted to be a comic book artist. However, with my art style, it's very cartoony, and so I was like, I'm never going to be able to draw a Spider-Man comic using this style. Not nothing like how I'd want to. So That's why I kind of switched from doing comics to novels.
Right. I'm sorry
You're not
about that.
supposed to tell
Sugar.
anybody that, Sugar.
Sugar's good. Yeah. Well, your biggest supporter. Nice to see you. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yep,
Fantastic. Yeah.
she's one of the reasons that I decided to write a sequel.
Yeah. You know, when you are a independent creative, you need like you have a spouse. Yeah, you need support from your partner, right? Because it's a lot
Mhm.
of work, a lot of it. It demands it's very demanding sometimes, with the
Yep.
time you need to put into it, plus trying to sell things, and sometimes you go
Mhm.
to conventions and stuff.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah, she and I go to conventions and markets all the time.
oh yeah, right. uh right, so you have some stickers that people can buy, can purchase, and you have a book right here, a different book, Perspectives.
So
Oh,
Perspectives is the anthology series that's how I first started my working relationship with them. So that's me and a bunch of other writers, and the proceeds to that go to charity. So
oh.
obviously I want you to buy Great Vengeance, but this also helps out a pretty good cause. I believe it's Dyspraxia, the Dyspraxia Foundation. I don't remember the exact name. And you get a lot of sample. There's several other writers in there that they work with as well. So
Mhm.
you get a sample of a ton of different writing styles. So
Sure.
yeah, if you only got like $5 or $6 that you can spend on, I'd rather you spend it on that. But then save up and obviously buy, like I said, 3 or 4 copies of my book to compensate.
Sure. So this perspectives concepts, you were asked to do a story, and then so you have a certain theme or concept that you have to write within.
So they didn't approach me. They just said, "Hey, listen, we're looking for authors."
Hmm.
This is before I knew them very well, but they're looking for authors for this anthology series. I had a short story that I was just sitting on. I had let a few people read it, and I edited it and tweaked it a little bit. And so I submitted it to him. Ironically enough, it was called, the book's called Perspectives, and my little short story in there was about a certain perspective. So what I was trying to do is usually, whenever I plan out a book in my head or whatever, I do storyboarding for it. I think of all the action scenes. I figure out how the characters are going to move because when you talk naturally, you're like using your hands, you're slouching, you're sitting up, you're rubbing your forehead, and I try to think of all those little animations somebody does while
Hmm.
talking or walking or whatever in my books. For this, I was like, how can I get somebody to sympathize with a character without knowing a description of her? Like you have the bare minimum information, and can I get somebody to be worried for them? And so that's what I did with that. So you don't find out whose perspective you're following till the near the end of the story when it switches perspectives. Um, so that's what I was trying to make something that would be um, almost unfilmable. Like all my stories and all my books and whatever, I'm always picturing them like, what if this was a TV show? What if this was a movie? And I think about it in that way. But this was me trying to do the opposite. It's like, how do I make this to where it can't be filmed? And
Oh,
so that was my perspective, so to speak, for that one. So no, we weren't given like give us this perspective of like a homeless person or a rich
mhm.
person or things like that. They left that open again. They're very easy to work with. They leave a lot of stuff open to interpretation when you work with them. Um, and again,
Mhm.
that's how we mesh so well. They understand how creatives work and that you can't be constrained. That being said, obviously, it's corralling cats with creative types. You still have to get them focused, but they don't keep you structured through a tunnel. They're like, hey, we're at point A. You need to get point C. We don't care how you get through point B. have at it and have fun. And that's
Sure.
what I enjoy working with them.
Yeah, yeah, good, good, man. Right. So, by the way, I like this style. Who is the artist of these stickers? Do you know?
So so that's a fellow on Twitter named Jan Skov. I believe that's his Twitter handle. Insanely talented, and he's got like a ton of different comics he works with. Insanely talented artist. He also did this poster for me. Let me see if I can get it closer. I don't know if the glare. Whoops, that is a bad glare on it. But is it better? Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, he's an insanely talented creator. Come
Oh,
on. There we go. Insanely talented creator. There we go. You can't see it there. Artist, and his turnaround time is super fast. So absolutely love working with him. Love the way he does coloring. Again, what I would do is I drew the concept for him, and I was like, make it more gooder, and he definitely made it more gooder. I did
yeah,
all the initial character design for those stickers there, and he just knocked it out of the park with every single one of them.
yeah, and looks great. Like all of them, especially this guy, the Sheriff Hunts. Love that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do
good.
really love that one too.
Um,
That might aside from Alice, who obviously she's going to be my favorite, but I really love the way he drew him. I know donuts are so cliche, but they're so much fun to
yeah,
associate
yeah,
cops with.
yeah, really nice. Right, so you have so Grave Vengeance right now. People can download. They can so they can read this novel. But you have multiple novels. Can people get the other ones also?
So right now we've just got different formats of the same one. So
Hmm.
that's all the same book, just different formats to give the customer the best possibility of reading it. The website does have the prologue, and I think it might even have the first chapter on there, so you don't have to just go into this blind. And I will give you the basic plot is that Alice gets a friend group in high school, and she thinks they're going to be bestest friends forever. Well, they end up sacrificing her so they could get to a dark god so they get their wishes granted. Well, they didn't understand the ritual, so not only did everybody that sacrificed her get a wish, but Alice, who is now dead, got a wish. Her wish was to be able to come back and get vengeance on all of her BFFs. And so basically, it's just her journey through that, and maybe she makes some new friends along the way, and they may be skeleton monsters and a few other things. So that's the basic premise for Grave Vengeance, and you know they have, but like you can see, you can see a ton of different books. There's Across the Astral Frontier, which I believe that's also an anthology series by, but just by Mr. Christian there. They have um, Babies with Rabies is another hilarious one. They have the Messiah series. They have Dead of Night. An absolute ton of different types of comics, ranging from all different things. Basement Show. I believe that's just a one-off, but it was really good. It really hits the like '90s like punk aesthetic. So if you want like a quick, good read, just a simple one-off. That one's really good. Um,
Oh, love the art here
but
also.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah, Danger Squad's another. That one's a great like. If you know Erie, Indiana, Gravity Falls,
Mhm.
um, Monster Squad from the '80s.
Oh yeah.
It's got a vibe of those comics. It's really good.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot
Yeah,
going on,
yeah,
man.
they have an absolute ton. And oh yeah, they're constantly releasing stuff.
That's
Um,
great.
and you know, so if you want a great indie hub or small press hub, come see my boys at ASAP. It's not just me.
But these are all novels, correct?
These are comics.
Oh, these are
Aside
comics.
from
Oh,
Across the Astral Frontier, that's a novel. These are
uh-huh.
comics. Yep. So we have, yeah. So they publish a lot of different stuff. They publish comic books. They publish novels.
Mm.
Um, they have a bunch of. I'm working on, like I said, I'm working on a couple of podcasts with them. one that goes through the steps of writing, one that's just me and the publisher Hades complaining about getting gray beards. Um, it's we do offer a massive selection of all sorts of things.
Right. Wow. Really nice. Very, very colorful. Cool. It's a complete new website with all new material. It's really a nice discovery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Guys, the link to this page is pinned in the chat. It's also in the description of this video, so you can browse it. They have far more pages than these two that we just went through. They have like 8 pages with books, right? So go check it out. A lot of cool stuff. And you are like working right now on a comic book also, you said, right? So how did you find your artists to work with? Did that go through the publisher?
Oh, so for the comic book, I'm
Yeah.
drawing it. So like I said before, I have a
Oh,
really
you're
cartoony
drawing it.
style, but the yeah. So I can't draw anything super serious, but I can draw goofy, newspaper, Sunday morning newspaper comics.
Oh
And the
yeah, yeah.
publisher was like, "Hey man, your style's hilarious. Let's make a funny comic together." So I was like, "Let's do it." And it's currently in the process of being inked. It's mostly going to be black and white because it's supposed to give the vibe of, you know, some dude at his desk in another boring meeting just scribbling something just to keep himself from jumping out the window from another boring business meeting. It's supposed to be that kind of vibe, but we do have some colored pages. I'm going to have some random stuff in there. Like I'm going to have like a word search. I'm going to have one of those like little mazes that you draw your way through. Just trying to come up with a bunch of goofy, fun little things while complaining about my knees going out on me now.
Right. Really cool, man. Right. So if you, what do you find as a writer? What are your strongest like skills regarding writing, and what are things that you find challenging?
Ooh, personally, I think I'm pretty challenged at every conceivable level. Um, um, I have been told that I have really fun fight scenes, really good fight scenes, that are very descriptive, so they're very easy to picture in your head. Um, I feel like I'm strong at those like big like, oh, how do you describe them? You would think as a writer I'd be able to describe them. Those big like scenes that you could take out of context and post it as like a Facebook reel or Insta reel or a TikTok or something.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like Family Guy cutaway gags, but like I feel like I'm really good at those scenes where somebody's like, I love this scene when Alice does this or whatever. Um, I feel like I got a bunch of big I'm really good at moments that really hook you, like
Sure.
really impactful moments, whether they're funny, they're um, they're heartwarming, they're sad. I'm really good at hooking people. My weakness, oh geez, what is my weakness?
It's also a
I
tough
mean,
question.
again, like as a writer, it is a tough question. As a writer, as an artist, you're always going to be your biggest critic. So at the same time, while you need to be your own biggest cheerleader and say,
Yeah.
yes, you need to buy my book. It will put hair on your chest. Unless you don't want hair on your chest, then it'll make it fall out. Um, you want to say great stuff about all your product all the time, but like you're always going to be the most critical. And so while I say all this great stuff about my writing, when I look at it, when I'm rereading the same lines over and over, I'm like, nobody's going to find this funny. Nobody's going to find this exciting.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm striving to try to make my stuff better all the time. I think I need to get better at the quiet moments. The calm before and after the
All
storms.
right. Yeah.
I feel like I need to get better at my dialogue. But I mean, I don't know. Like you need to improve everything consistently. You need to make sure your strong points they always stay strong, and your weak
Mhm.
points become strong points. So because if you focus on one too much, you'll let the others atrophy, and you never
Yeah.
want that. Like you need your story doesn't always have to be high moments, high moments, high moments. It can be a roller coaster, you know.
Mhm.
Like again, Marvel movies these days, they're always too busy with the snap, like funny comment, funny comment, and
Yes.
nobody likes that. Then you have the
No.
DC stuff where everything was just bleak and gray and miserable, and nobody was having fun and saying, "Holy crap, I'm Superman! I can fly and save the day." It's like he's miserable and depressed. Well, Batman's already miserable and depressed. You got to have the light with the dark. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like with Marvel, it's all light all the time. It's all goofy all the time. So the scenario, the serious moments don't feel serious anymore. Like
Mhm.
you still have to be invested into the story.
Yeah.
So I hope this weird tangent is making sense to people. That
Yeah.
like you have to
Absolutely.
have a balance of both. You know, but you have to keep it flowing. You have to keep it going. You have to keep it interesting, regardless. The scariest thing somebody could say about your characters, about the story, is I don't care about any of these people.
Yes.
You don't want you can have your audience hate them. You can have them love them. You can't have them be apathetic to your characters. You can't have them be bored, especially with writing, especially with books. When you don't have colorful pictures or flashy video or music or whatever, you have to make sure. Like with writing, it's difficult because when you start talking about books to somebody that's not a massive reader, or even people that are massive readers, their eyes will just glaze over when you're like, "Oh, by the way, I'm writing a novel," and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because like it's not a picture that you can just show them, like, "Hey, look at this character I drew." Because people can look at me, "Oh yeah, I love this," but like you hand them a book, they're like, "This is how many pages? I've got to read how much? How many
Yes.
chapters?
This is work.
50 chapters. That's
Yeah.
like a million chapters. Yes, this is work. You give me homework." And yes,
Yes.
the first episode of Middle Age Rage, the show is on the channel.
Cool. And that's the ASAP Network. That's the
And we
YouTube
talk
channel
we talk
also,
about balding.
right? All right. Cool.
Mhm.
So go check it out. Go subscribe, guys. Mitch, you said that you were like in the process of re-editing your earlier work. Is that correct?
Mhm.
So
Yes, sir.
so do you do the editing, or do other people do the editing?
So with what I normally do is I'll write there's different ways of writing people. Don't take mine as the word of God written in stone. Some people will go and re-edit their chapters until they're perfect, and then they'll move on. Which again, that means you get hung up on one chapter, and the rest of the story never exists.
Yeah.
You have to get that first draft complete. Is how I personally feel. So I write my entire thing through, then I'll go back and I'll start editing stuff, just a little bit, tweaking little things. Then I give it to a beta reader, have them read it. They will give me notes, not necessarily grammar or anything wise, but they'll major issues they point out, like, "Hey, by the way, you forgot to end this sentence," which happens. And then I get an editor to review it and edit it and format it like we need it to be for the publishing. So I do hand it off to somebody far more talented, far more professional than I will ever be with this stuff. Um, and have them work, and then we work together. So what they'll do is they'll say, "Hey, by the way, like you mentioned, one character's hair is brown here, then you mentioned it's blonde here. What is it?" You know,
Oh,
they'll
sure.
be like, "Hey, you spelled the name this way in one place and this way in another place. Which one is it?" Things like that. Or so it's great to have a separate pair of eyes on it, a professional pair of eyes, because you already know the story. You know it in your heart, you know it in your head. So you're going to skip stuff, but an editor is going to go line by line. They're going to take notes to the side, then they're going to go back and review them. While again, there's plenty of people that write and edit their own stuff. It never hurts to have somebody else out there to help you. Are there any comment pages to flip through? Uh, for my stuff, not yet. If you go to my Twitter or my X account at Mr. Beardsley, or you go to my Insta Wild Worlds Writer, you can see some of my little scribbles. If you're curious about how terribly I draw, I believe if you're interested in any of these comics that are on this website, there are they do have some comics have sample pages where you can read the first couple of pages, check out the art and things like that.
Cool.
But not yet. But when the art is done, when the comics are done, I will definitely let you guys see it and know that you can flip through a few of them.
Yeah. If you want to see Mitch's art, you can follow him on X. His profile is down below this video, so you can follow him. But if you so your first book, you said you started to write when you were about 19, 20, right? So if you read that right now, because you have a lot of writing experience now, in the meantime, like decades, right? So if you look back, do you sometimes have the urge to rewrite things because you write different now, or are you still like very happy with how it turned out?
Well, that's a good question. So yes, the moment I hand off a manuscript to the publisher, I'm like, oh my God, I got to pull it back. I need to add this and this and this and this. Like, there's so much stuff you want to add to it. You can even, again, this is stuff you're going to see at no matter what art form, be it art, like paintings or drawings, comics, books, movies, music. People will re-release the same song over and over just to get that perfect song they can't get out of their head to the listener. So yes, while I would love to go and rewrite it, and I would probably scrap a ton of it and rebuild it from the ground up, keeping the same characters. I would probably put, I would, you grow, you learn as a person, as an artist. Again, I really wish you hadn't said decades because my God, that
sorry,
was like forever ago. But yes, it's all good. But yes, as you grow in the experience, you're always gonna be like, man, I really should go back and rewrite that. I should do more with that. There's gonna be moments where you're like, oh, why did I name that character that? That's so cringy, or why did I do this in the story? It's so awful. But like at the same time, you should never be ashamed about the art
No.
that was the cornerstone and the foundation for your growth. That's why I hate these people that say, well, I'm ashamed of the book I wrote 20 years ago. Well, the world was different 20 years ago. You were different 20 years ago. But guess what? If you hadn't written that book, you wouldn't be where you are now, potentially. If I hadn't written that first book, I probably would have never picked up writing ever again. Now, there was a massive gap between when I wrote then and me starting over. But it still proved to myself that I could do this. And then when I picked it up years later, and started with a couple of short stories, I proved to myself again that I could still write. That strangers, not friends and family, would be interested in this stuff, and it gave me the confidence to try again and to really commit because it's one of those things I didn't know what writing was like then. I didn't know how to publish. I didn't know how to promote. I'm still learning how to promote, but all this stuff. And my biggest regret in writing is I didn't keep up with it. I didn't start writing Wild Worlds back when I was 20. I didn't start with Grave Vengeance, after that. But again, I didn't have these ideas. I didn't have the inspiration. I wasn't who I needed to be to write certain books. That sounds really pretentious, but sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes you have to have that one moment in your life, like you picked up a different book, you played a different game, you saw a different movie, you heard a song, or you had a bad breakup, or you started a brilliant relationship with somebody, a brilliant friendship, and that's what inspires you to write. But sometimes the book has to wait on you to be there for it, and sometimes, you have to wait for the book to come to you.
Yes,
things like that.
This is true. It's true, man. Yeah, you should not be like ashamed of your first. I have some early comics. I read them back now, and I just it's not that great. I would do it better now, but if I would make the same comic now, they wouldn't be that comic. It would be a completely different thing, and this is why this is cool. It's like a moment in time. It's like a reflection of my skills then, and my learning process, and that's great. So Anyway, Mitch, I wanted to thank you for being my guest for today. It was a wonderful conversation, very, very interesting. Discovered a new site, new publisher, some new material to check out. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your time and your patience with me. Early comics like Earthling.
There's artists early yeah, my first Earthling comics were not my best like writings, but I made them, so you have to start somewhere. Yeah. So chat, thank you so
That's
much
true.
for
Yes,
watching us,
definitely.
for being here, for listening to our interview, our conversation. Please go check out Mitch's book. Go check out ASAP. What was it? ASAP Entertainment. Their website is down below in the description. So thank you all for watching us. If you like this conversation, please give the stream a like. And if you didn't like the conversation, give the stream a dislike. And I'm very sorry.
But still like it. Just lie to us. It's okay.
Yes. There won't be a show next week. I have something else to do next Sunday, so we will skip 1 week. But the week after, I'll be back with another Drink with Brink with a brand new guest. So this same channel, same time, new guests. Hope to see you guys in 2 weeks. And Mike says, thanks to you, Dave, Mitch, and Mitch's wife. A lot of comics. Yes. Thank you all so much, guys.
Well, thank you.
All right. Have a fantastic rest of your Sunday and see you next time. Bye-bye.